Alrighty, guys, welcome to the Bringin' It Home show. Friday, November 27th here. 1 o'clock where I am, noon where Roman is, and a totally different time where Andy is over here. But gosh, we're excited to be here with you guys today. Now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Roman without further ado for today's intro of our guest.
Dreamers, happy Friday. Welcome to the Bringin' It Home show. Hopefully, you guys are having a great Black Friday, had a happy Thanksgiving, feasted on turkey or whatever you like to feast on during the Thanksgiving holiday. And wherever you were celebrating, whoever you were celebrating with, we hope you were doing it safely and definitely had a good time amidst the pandemic. So I would like to invite on here and welcome our special guest that has so graciously taken the time with us today. Andy Brown, he's a British artist and a painter that painted all 30 Major League Baseball diamonds and ballparks in 2019, and we'll touch on that in the interview, but has incorporated his passion for sports with his passion for art and found a happy marriage between the two, made a full-time career of it. Very happy to call him our friend. He met Tucker here at the Field of Dreams movie site in 2019, which we'll touch on as well. But great story, great person. Andy, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to get to see you both again and be here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. So for the dreamers out there that don't know your work, but you're very prevalent in the baseball industry. We talked to quite a few baseball podcasters, and they all mention having you on the show. Tim Flattery, I believe, had you on the show as well on the Shoeless Joe or the Moonlight Graham show. So that's pretty cool. But how long have you been painting? How did you get started, and who inspired you?
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I've been painting all my life is probably the easiest, still the place to start. Like ever since I was a young kid, I've always painted, always drawn. I guess when I was answering a few questions the other day, and I guess when I was like a teenager at school, I was always probably one of the best in the class at art. People would try and get me to do their homework for them and all that sort of stuff. And around that time, though, I started to find out more about its history, more about the depth behind it. I remember seeing one painting, Hans Holbein, The Ambassadors. I don't know if you know that painting. It was painted in 1533, I believe. It's this great kind of medieval kind of painting of these ambassadors. And I learned all about the symbols and the signifiers in this painting. And it just really, really took my passion and took my interest to another level. So, I guess back then it was my teacher. My teacher inspired me to paint. The teacher inspired me to keep working, keep working at it. And then the more I learned about art, the more I learned about art history, the more that's what I wanted my life to be full with. And thankfully, it really has been filled with that up until this point. So I'm very thankful to be at that part.
That's great. So how did you combine, you're an avid sports fan, and just tell us, how you grew up, what your favorite sport is, your passion for sports, because you successfully combined your passion for art and sports and made a career of it. Yeah. How did you do that?
Well, I guess originally I'm a football fan, and because in the UK here, I grew up in the UK. We watch football and cricket quite a lot. So we watch rugby as well, but I'd say my main two sports were cricket and football. In 2009, I moved to South Korea, where I was teaching art and design at an international school. And it was there that I was invited to a baseball game by a friend of mine, an American friend. It was a Sunday. He said, why don't you come along to the ballpark and come see a baseball game? Now, I'd never really seen baseball outside of movies. I'd probably seen Field of Dreams. I don't know, I'd seen a few other films here and there, but I'd never really actually seen a live game. So I didn't know really the rules. I didn't really know what to expect, but I went along to the game, and that was my first game in 2009. And then since then, really, I was always drawing and painting wherever I was. I've got a fine arts background. Like I said, my passion started very young and has been all through my life. So I'd always be drawing, painting, just everything that I was doing and everywhere I was going. And then in Korea, I noticed that in a sporting arena or in a baseball game, but, of course, the fans are celebrating. There's the noise, there's the food, there's the music. There's all these different strands of our culture that come together. And I was just really engrossed by it all, in the fact that it really shows you, a country's values and what they take pride in and what they like and what they don't like and how they like to cheer and how they like to celebrate. And also, of course, with baseball, there's every ballpark's different. You know, the dimensions are different, the locations are different. You know, the flags that people are wearing are different, the uniforms are different. So I find it incredibly rich in all sorts of different cultural aspects. So I started recording that and painting that, and then as I got more into the game, it was kind of one of those things that just grew and grew and grew. I thought, okay, well, there's all these other places or stadiums in the KBO to go and see. So I went to see the different teams and noticed how they were different, noticed how they were similar. I started painting that, and then I went on across to Japan in my holidays to see baseball over there, and it just built and built and built from that. And I guess I did it. It was just something I was interested in, and it still is something I'm just interested in. But my kind of recognition for doing it just grew and grew and grew a little bit all the kind of as I went along. And, you know, fans started to react well to my work, players started reacting to my work, teams, leagues, just got a bit more recognition for it. And it was fantastic just to have an audience where people were enjoying what I was doing, I was enjoying what I was doing, and I could make it grow, you know, and that's again where I am today is all thanks to those early starts in 2009 in Korea. And then that took me kind of to coming to the home of the national pastime to watch the game and see the game.
That's awesome. Some of your work is displayed behind you as well. One of which, the Field of Dreams over your left shoulder.
I've got one from the Field of Dreams. That was last August. I did that one. I've got one from Mexico at the back there, two from the States here, another one from Mexico. In fact, these three are from Mexico down here. So I've got a few. You know, now I've painted in 9 different countries, all around Asia, Latin America, North America, of course, the MLB London series. So it's been incredible. Like, I never would have thought that I'd still be doing it and with such a big body of work now.
Absolutely. Well, I got a 2-part question for you, Andy. It's the first one being, you know, and really they can go together, I guess, but I'll open up with a question that I just inserted here that made me think. How do you explain the game of baseball to somebody who has never seen baseball before, as you stepped into it at that level, 10 years ago about? So if someone sees your artwork from an area of the world that does not have baseball, how in the world are you going to explain baseball to them, and what are the key attributes that you find to be most beautiful about the game?
Oh, right. Okay. Well, explaining it, I feel like that. Well, there's 2 things there. I feel like the things that I find most beautiful about it is just to do with those shapes being different, just to do with the locations being different. You know, I've got one here I can see just past the computer here. This one's in Havana, in Cuba. It was a very small local. It was the local team. That's
beautiful.
In Havana, not one of the bigger teams, and you know that just in the background there is the Che Guevara, the very famous Che Guevara Ministry of Information. There's the theatre, there's the Jose Marti statue. So what really draws me to it is that you've got these fields in these different locations, and the backdrops. You've got a glimpse into the country's history. You've got in that one painting, you've got a glimpse into the revolution in the 50s. You've got a glimpse into Jose Marti, the revolution from the, blimey, I don't know when that was now, but late 1800s, early 1900s. And then you've got your players themselves and the colours they wear and how they look and how they behave. So I feel like that's kind of part of what visually draws me to it. And then I've forgotten the first part of the question. Was it kind of just explaining how to explain the game? Yeah,
just how do you, I guess, or maybe, I mean, you've answered a lot of it, but how do you perceive the game and then in turn communicate it to somebody who's never seen the game?
You know, I always think that baseball's an incredibly simple game. It's so simple in many respects. You know, you have your bat, you have the ball. Okay, you've got to hit the ball kind of as hard as you can, or arguably as hard as you can. And you've got to get around, the bases. Relatively simple. But again, what I love about baseball is that every time I watch a game, every time I see a new country playing the game or a new team or in a new location or everything else, there's always something else I learn. There's new rules. And like the rules, I mean, I still never understand what a balk is. I mean, I kind of get the idea, but I'm not at the stage where I can spot a balk or, the infield fly rule is always an interesting one. I kind of understand it, but there's kind of, I never quite understand why they don't just let it drop in that case. But, you know, there's all these different things where I just find it just grows, and it grows in different ways. You know, you can watch the game and you can enjoy the game in a very, very simple way. Okay, you know, hit the ball and run around the bases. That's kind of generally it. But then you've also got the statistics, you've got the numbers, you've got the uniforms, you've got the flags, you've got the food, you've got the music, the different walk-up tunes, the bands that might play in a Japanese field compared to the K-pop kind of style in a KBO game. It's just different. Everywhere you go, it's just different. And I think that's the thing for me that keeps me interested in it is just that. And I always see things that I've just never seen. You never know what's going to happen. You know, Randy Arozarena in the World Series, that final was it game 3 or 4? I can't remember now. But that final part of that game, that last inning, was a great example of that. And I think that makes it so exciting. That's so in my painting, within the crowd that I paint, I try to capture some characters of people in the crowd. I try to capture, you know, if there's some interesting objects they're holding or things they're waving. Or again, over here somewhere, I've got one from Cuba, and there was a guy who he came to the game. It was the Crocodilo, so he had a big crocodile that was made out of cardboard or papier-mâché, and he had a string that when you pulled the string, its mouth would open and close like this. And they'd placed the ball inside the crocodile's mouth because they were playing the Toros. And I don't know can I get it? And anyway, so it's
well, we have to see it now.
All these different things there, which I'm trying to see if I know I had it earlier. I saw it and I thought, oh, that's here it is. Yeah. So let me see. How well done? I don't know how well this will show up on the camera, but I don't know if you can see the little crocodile.
That's pretty good.
You know, I try to capture those things, and then you've just got the stadium itself, and I try to, you know, I'm trying to. For me in my art, I want to capture that atmosphere. It's to me the game is you know, really special and unique in all the different shapes and the way the dimensions of it almost, and the colours. But there's such a unique atmosphere, and I really want to try and capture that in the paint, in the colour, in the brushstrokes. Yeah, that's kind of part of, I guess that's part of what feeds into the whole thing, and build up the story of these different places, and explain what it's like in these different ways, in a different way.
I would say you answered that in perfect fashion, and I think the only answer could be a unique answer to that question. So I think that's a good one. And then the part 2 of that question, I'll make it short, is really what's it like to be an ambassador to the sport of baseball? I mean, you're out here going to stadiums in plenty of different countries, talking to people that I'm sure you don't even speak the same language with sometimes. And, you know, the one constant between those situations is you're still being an ambassador and a face to the sport of baseball. So what's it like to be that ambassador, and what's it like to interact with people from all these different countries, obviously, you know, as that figure?
Yeah, you know, well, I guess it's a great honour to be seen as being an ambassador of the sport in some respect, in some way. I never really set out for that to be the case, or I never thought that would be the case. But I think it's for me, it was just about my love of the game and just sharing my passion for painting. I want to capture these events in paint and in colour. And I can see that actually, fans enjoy it, the players enjoy it. You know, it can really add to, somehow it contributes to the history of the game, the visual culture of the game, the storytelling of the game. And I feel like that's a great honour that people want to look at my paintings and see the stories in them and kind of hear my stories about it. And then, you know, when I'm meeting fans in different places, it's always, you know, fantastic. I mean, you know, when I was traveling around America and, you know, your neck of the woods, the people were fantastic, like so generous, so welcoming, so kind. You know, they would, you know, get me some food if you know, I'd finished painting, somebody to come over for a burger or something, and just very, very just lovely, really, really nice and welcoming and friendly and very supportive, which I think is part of what I love about the baseball community. In different countries, you know, it's the same, but, you know, like you say, we may not speak the same language. So, you know, there'll be a lot of gesticulation and hand actions and cheering and all this sort of thing. But it's great. You know, I was thinking about this earlier. I found myself in I think it was in Mexico. A guy came up to me and he wanted me to paint his trainers. Anyway, sneakers, I guess you'd call them. So he came up with his sneakers, and they were a really cool pair. They were like Nike or something, and they were really like, you know, obviously brand new, blah, 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 blah. And he took off his shoe and he gave it to me, and I was like, what? And then he got out his phone, and he had a picture of the team's logo, the pictures of the team's, you know, emblem. And he was kind of pointing at the shoe and pointing at this like this. And I was like, you want me to paint this on your nice, your brand new sneaker? And yeah, he did. So, I quickly stopped doing the painting I was doing there, and I'm quickly trying to paint it on this guy's shoe. And you have these, and then in Cuba again, like there were fans that wanted me to paint. They had like signs that they hold up, but they hadn't, they hadn't coloured something in or something, so they still had paint. So I'm colouring it in from and finishing up a bit from and all this. So I think it's that nice idea you can share these things. I feel very privileged, like I say, that I can share my my enjoyment for painting, my enjoyment for art, my enjoyment for baseball, and people we can share that together. It's well received, and I think that's it's a great honor, really. So I just hope I want to keep doing it. Really, that's my goal.
I think you're on the right path.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So last year, 2019, you came to the States, the birthplace of baseball, America's pastime, and experienced it firsthand. How was that experience? Because you did something that I don't think anybody else can say. You created a painting of each of the 30 major league ballparks.
Yeah.
How long did that take you? What was the experience like? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was like nothing else I'd ever done before, and I guess there's a reason for that. It was hard work. It was an incredible journey, but it was when I think I'd reached the stage where I'd painted in Korea, I'd painted in Japan, Taiwan, China, and I'd been over to the States a few times painting ballparks and minor league, independent league, and all, and a couple of majors. And then it just got to the point where I thought, right, I've got to do the ultimate trip now. Now I need to go and see, I really wanted to see Camden Yards. I wanted to see. I'd already been to Fenway, but I wanted to go back to Fenway, and I wanted to see, actually end up at the Field of Dreams. So I wanted to experience, the ultimate thing. I wanted to see what it was like, and baseball was really like in the birthplace of the national pastime. And I wanted to see what that meant to American people. I wanted to see, like, okay, what does baseball mean in America? Like, I know I kind of have a glimpse of it in these Asian countries, but I wanted to know what it was like there. So it was incredible. I mean, it's very hard to sum up because it was so varied. I mean, just like America itself, I was down in the deep South for a while. I was, of course, in New York. I was everywhere where all 30 MLB teams are, and a few other places on the way. And it was absolutely mind blowing. It was just mind blowing. Really, it's very hard to sum it up. It was just incredible to see the diversity. To meet the people that I met, the magic moments that happened. There were so many moments, and this kind of relates a bit to the Field of Dreams. These amazing moments that I just couldn't believe, like, these things happened. And it was months and months and months of trying to plan it. And but at times also the plan kind of completely went out the window, and I didn't know what was going to happen that night. Very often I didn't know exactly where I was going to sleep that night. I kind of had a plan of where I was going to be for the next ballpark. But sometimes I didn't know where I was going to be staying that night, or even if the team were going to let me in to paint that day, and all sorts of things. So it was just, but it was amazing. I saw, I was in I was in all the different cities and all that. But I was in, Joshua Tree National Park, and I was in Nashville and New Orleans, and all the different food and the people and the ways people spoke. Atlanta. I mean, I just loved it. It was just incredible.
It sounds like you're a person that just takes in all the senses and then produces something from that. Because I think it's probably easy to say for a lot of people that painting only comes from the visuals, but it sounds like for you're taking in the whole atmosphere around you, and that plays a major consideration.
Yeah. That's exactly it, Roman. Oh, sorry,
that's amazing. I mean, it really is, just to hear you speak of how this process goes and then produce something like you do is amazing, because it's so much more than just a 2D image. I mean, you're really putting the senses into it.
Yeah, that's what I hope to achieve. That's exactly it. And along with the actual canvases. So I was doing the 30 ballparks. So I do usually one canvas at each game. But I've got a stack of sketchbooks here. So I'd be, traveling around. Let me have a think. What have I got? I'd be doing sketchbooks work of studies of, like, so you got here. That was the last out of the last game at Fenway Park that I saw, and so I've got sketchbooks of some of them of baseball, but some of them are this is in the Guggenheim in New York and the museum there. But I've got paintings here of, this is my friend's dad, Howie Waldman. Big shout out to him, watching the TV in Long Island with his feet up. So, in Long Island and Pittsburgh, so it's just Babe Ruth's birthplace. So it's all the, I always want to capture all the culture as much as possible. Like when I'm in the ballpark, yep. And then when I'm outside the ballpark, again, this is in Mexico. This is on the beach in Mexico, in Mazatlan. So it's trying to capture like the whole experience, the whole culture of the country, of the people, of baseball in everywhere that it is played, and the culture where it comes from, and the differences, the similarities, and like I say, all the senses, the smells, the music, everything.
It's amazing. It really is. Well, before we jump into the next question here, I have the comments over here on the side from the viewers. I want to welcome in Frank. As always, Bob Pritchett from Cincinnati, Ohio. Good to see you. Bob says the constant is the language of art. It supersedes all language barriers.
Yes, that's exactly it. You don't need to, and that's. I found that a lot in the States. And it was, again, I never really considered this something that it's quite humbling. This, in the fact that I could be painting. I was painting outside Wrigley Field, and I was painting the marquee there. And by doing that, of course, people come up and they have a little look, and you get talking to people, and then people start telling you about themselves and about their stories, and they ask you about your story, and then somebody else comes along and they start talking about their story, and then before you know it, everyone's having a big conversation, and it was great. Having a really good time, or having a chat about whatever the big issue of the day, or the tiny thing that happened last night, whatever it was. And it's that ability to share and share through pictures and share through color, but also that communal sense. And I think that's part of the magic of baseball, is that coming together, and that kind of in America, that community that's founded by the baseball. When people come together in a ballpark, then there's a great sense of unity and togetherness, which is really special, I think.
Absolutely.
It is. Andy, I have to ask you. Are you ever given a hard time by security walking in with your supplies? How does that process work? And where do you go? Do you go on the concourse? I mean,
I'll go anywhere. Anywhere I can go, I'll go. I've painted on the staircase. I've painted on the concourse. In Mexico, I was up on the roof on one of the stadiums at one point. Like anywhere I can go, if I can paint there, I'll paint there. When I was in the States, I had an easel with me because the canvases are quite big. They're usually, I don't know, about 26 inches by 22, something like that. But they were sometimes a bit smaller, sometimes a bit bigger. So generally, that was why it was really important that I was in touch with the teams. Like I had to get in touch with somebody and try and secure a position and let them know that I wanted to come. But of course, that didn't always happen. Sometimes I never got a reply, or sometimes I couldn't get through to anyone. And in those cases, well, taking an easel in and a big canvas is generally out of the, you can't do it. So, yeah. So in that case, then I'd have to come up with other ways of doing it, sketchbooks or having rolls of canvas, and working just on the floor. So it was, I had to you've got to be really versatile with that. You've got to be really adaptable. You can't, but again, it really taught me that thing about life, that it doesn't always go the way you want it to go. And it's not always to the plan that you have in your mind or what you think's going to happen. But very often when that doesn't happen, then there's actually greater rewards at the end of that way you've been sent down. So it was just constantly amazing, but tricky as well.
Yeah, I imagine.
Sounds like a never-ending adventure for you, Andy. It really does. So the question that it's a question that you can answer straight up, or you can say it's different from time to time. But you go into these stadiums, you're there for 9 innings, possibly more if it's an extra inning game. Yeah. How much of the painting are you completing when you're actually at the game, and how much are you completing after the fact? What's the time frame look like for a painting? And I'm sure they range from complexity, but where's your average?
I do it all within the 9 innings. Like that's my target, that's my aim, that's my goal. I kind of feel like that's essential. I feel like for me, at the moment, I'm here in my hut, this hut in my parents' garden in Rugby, England, and it's great being in the hut. It's a really nice space to paint in. Or it was a storage hut originally, but it's now a studio. But it's great to be in here. But I like nothing more than, like we talked about before, being able to sense the game, the noise, the atmosphere, the colours, the motion, everything of the game. And I want to do it live. I want to do it in the presence of the crowd on that day, in that weather. So to me, it's important I get it all done in the 9 innings. So,
Amazing.
I usually get there early. Ideally, I'd be at a game a couple hours before, as soon as the gates open. I ideally want to be in there, because just setting up takes a while, getting my palette ready, getting my brushes out, getting my, everything all together. But usually I want to be there a bit early, and then usually I want to start just before the game starts. Then I might start drawing it out and mapping out kind of the basic shapes, and then it's just, I've just got to get going. And then by the 7th inning, I usually check in, like when I hear the 7th inning stretch, then it's like, okay, do I have to put my foot on the gas, or can I ease off a little bit, or where am I with this? But it's taken a while to get to that stage where I can kind of do that to a decent level. But it's but yeah, I want to get it all done at that time, because I think that's the most important thing is that day and that part of history.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you talked about capturing the moment. That's the only way you do it.
Absolutely.
So, Roman, before you ask your next one, we got some questions flooding in here now. The first one from Mike Bearden, a good friend there. I'm going to go ahead and throw this onto the live stream. You guys can't see it from the Skype end, but our viewers can see the question pop up. So Mike says, how do you have to pay MLB for any rights as you paint their stadiums? That's a great question. As far as Major League Baseball goes, how has that been to work with them from a rights perspective?
I guess I haven't really worked with MLB. I've worked more with the teams. Like, it's been more, whether the team's given me permission to bring all my stuff in that day or not. So making a painting of anywhere, I mean, if it's a one-off painting, then you're completely fine to do that. So there's no real problem there. But I mean, I'd like to work with MLB if I can say that. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the next part of my journey. I think is working now with leagues and working with teams, to work with them closer and actually to build up more of what I've got going. But generally it was on a team-to-team basis, and the teams were fantastic. I mean, the welcome that I got, even like me track of that time before, it was just people were so friendly. Sorry, lost you a bit. So yeah, people were so friendly. So it just and the teams were generally so welcoming, and they gave me a really nice spot. It was funny in Cleveland, the Indians gave me, I had like a police escort, and I don't know if it was for my sake or for the crowd's sake, but I had like 2 policemen that everywhere I went that night or while I was painting would be stood right next to me, and it was just they were just, people just took care and just made me feel really at home. So
and
it made me feel all the difference.
I like to hear that, because that is about a 15-minute drive from where I grew up. So right. I'm in Ohio right now, but I like to hear the positivity from the Cleveland side, because that's a rare thing.
Oh no, it's superb. I loved it. Like, Cleveland was a great city. I thought.
Great city.
Again, part of the because I was only in a place for 2 days or maybe one night. It was didn't really get a good sense of every city. So it was kind of there was so many places that I went to, and I thought I'd love to go back there like as soon as possible. And Cleveland was definitely one of them. I think I was there for two nights, and so that was maybe I was a bit of a day either side of that. So it was a bit of a quick visit, but I really enjoyed it, and the people, like the team, were fantastic. Really, really, really welcoming. Love
to hear that. So our next question, just quick question here, is actually coming from a loyal fan of ours and a friend, Frank Roberto, out of New York. He has asked, what has been the most difficult stadium to paint? So what stadium has given you the most difficulty as far as just the painting perspective there?
Good question.
It is a good question. It's a really hard one to answer, to be honest. I'm trying to think, because I mean, to be fair, I've done quite a lot now. I mean, I've done hundreds of paintings of different ballparks. I'm trying to think. Like, there's I think I mean, in some respects, every ballpark is hard to paint because every ballpark's different. So it's not like you can just bank on the same things. You know, if you're down the first baseline in I don't know, Yankee Stadium compared to the first baseline in the Indian Stadium, well, it's very different. The view you get is completely different. So yeah, you've got the diamond, and those shapes are kind of somewhat similar, but then you've got the difference in elevation. So they're all. Yeah, I guess they've all got their challenges without a doubt. You know, PNC is one of the most beautiful ballparks in the world without a doubt. But that skyline, I mean, that is just it's a great thing to paint, but it's also a nightmare to paint because you're trying to do that and the game itself and the fans and all the rest of it within the 9 innings. That's a lot to take in. So. But then also it's fantastic to paint because it's such a beautiful skyline. You've got the Clemente Bridge, and so there's all these. It's the challenge is part of it that keeps you going back and thinking, wow, that'd be good. And there were times where I wanted to capture the sunset. I thought, oh, the sunset's going to be really amazing here. But then if you're trying to paint a sunset, you've only got, I don't know, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour at most. But the colours are changing I think Monet said colours change every 7 minutes. So they change all the time. So you're just improvising. You're just kind of working with what's going on. So it's there may be all of equal difficulty. Might be the answer to that question.
Absolutely.
That's a good question. So you have a personal life on top of all of this, right? Yeah. So for you, how much time are you on the road with your career on an average year? I know this year's obviously different given what's going on globally, but you know, how much time on an average year are you on the road, and how has the pandemic affected your work?
Yeah. Well, you see, I was teaching in Korea, teaching art and design, and I was teaching from 2009 to 2019. So that was 10 years there. So I left Korea in 2019, came back to the UK, and then I painted MLB London. I think it was the week after I got back. So that was late June 2019. I was in the London Stadium painting the Red Sox and the Yankees game. So I did both games there. And then it was about a month after that, I left. It was about mid-July. I flew first to Seattle. I started in the Northwest. And from then until... And I came back to the UK in Februry this year. So it was late February this year. And so that was, nearly a year. So that was across, of course, it was all across America, up into Canada, back into the States for a while. Then I ended up getting down to Mexico. Was in Mexico till maybe January time. I was in Cuba for a few weeks, back to Mexico. And then I was back in the UK, really just to catch up with family and friends. And it was going to be my plan. I think I had 6 weeks until I had a return flight back to Mexico City. And I was going to be painting, with a team and some of the summer league there. And I had a few kind of dates lined up. But of course, as you know, it didn't come about. And so that was a big chunk of time. And that would be for me, I enjoy it. I love it. Like, for me, being on the road, being overseas, meeting different people, learning new, bits of language and music and culture is, for me, what it's all about. And I think it teaches a lot about ourselves and a lot about where we're from. But I think it's so visually stimulating, so rich that for me, I love it. That lifestyle it works.
It's good to hear. That's a very, very positive take on that there. But it seems like you're a man of journey, that you enjoy the unknown journey ahead, and you thrive on those experiences.
You've got to be into it, or you've got to be all right with the fact that you don't know necessarily where you're sleeping that night, and you don't know what's going to happen in a week's time, and how you're going to do this. And there's and that's that was hard, but I certainly learned about myself there that happens in life. So you've got to be flexible at times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
did you stay in people's homes?
I did a little bit, not much. I mean, like I showed you there, Howie in Long Island, I stayed at his house because he's the dad of an old friend of mine. So I was there at his house for a while. I was with a friend in Seattle and his parents in Boston. I was actually at the when I was at your place, the Field of Dreams, was when I met Dan Wallach, the Shoeless Joe Jackson director.
Yes.
And I stayed at his house in Chicago, and that was that was incredible. I mean, the time I was only at the Field of Dreams for a few days, but the things that happened there were just unbelievable. And I was there painting there this day. I think it was the Sunday. It was after I'd met you, Tucker, after the Ghost Plays had done their show. Yep. And I'm painting in the corner, and then this guy walks up to me, and he goes, "Oh, are you Andy Brown?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wow, how the hell does this guy know I'm Andy Brown?" This is a surreal, like the middle of Iowa, and yeah. So anyway, and it ended up that this was Dan, who was who runs the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum at the time. He was still living in Chicago, and he said, "Oh, I've been following your work online for a year or two or something." And I was like, "Wow, like, all right, well, yeah, nice to meet you." And he said, "Oh, can we do an interview? I'm going to do a podcast." So I said, "Yeah, of course." So we hung out. I was finishing off. It was actually this painting here. I was doing that painting, and then we went out to dinner, and then we didn't actually have time to do the podcast. So he said, "Look, you're coming to Chicago next week. Why don't you come and stay at my place?" Because to be honest, like when you're staying in motel after night after night after night, and you're going from one motel to the next motel, and you're packing up your bag and you're unpacking your bag, or you're living like that. When you're actually in somebody's house, it's so nice just to have that grounded sense, and just to get a little bit of that old, that comfortable bed and that ease that you get in somebody's home. So most of the time, I'd say easily over 75% of the time, I was staying in hotels and motels. But then, luckily at times I had people who could put me up or offered to give me a bed for the night. So that was really good. But it was varied.
That's great. Well, and you speak of those days that you were in Iowa and at the Field of Dreams, and what was it like for you to be there for the first time? What were the highlights of your experience? How did you perceive the Field of Dreams just from the start? Really what hit you? Uh-oh, Andy?
Maybe a connection difficulty here, guys. Sit tight.
Oh. We're waiting on Andy, guys. Give us a second. He said, hold on.
I can get him back, I think.
Roman will reel him back in, and then we'll got two questions coming from Mike Bearden and Bob Pritchett, so we'll highlight those.
Sorry, guys, I lost you for a minute there.
There you go. You're back. All right. So the question is, first time at the Field of Dreams. Obviously you arrived at the end of a Ghost Sunday. You and I met very briefly, and it was Ghost Sundays are always a little bit chaotic for us, and that was prior to a pandemic, so a lot of people there, very busy. But for you, what was your experience like those few days that you were in Iowa and the few days that you were around the Field of Dreams? What were your biggest takeaways from that?
Yeah, it was really amazing. It was funny when I was there on the Sunday. First of all, it was strange because I was traveling to the Field of Dreams, and I was driving from. I was staying at a motel maybe about an hour away, so I was driving there, and I was listening to a podcast with Tim Flattery with the Moonlight Graham show, interviewing Dwyer Brown. So I'm listening to it, and I was like, wow, this is it was really, really inspiring, really great to hear the effect that the film had on people. And then I pulled up at the Field of Dreams, and all of a sudden through the windshield, I can see the 1919 White Sox are on the field, and I was like, what on earth is going on? I was like, this can't be real. Like, I thought I was hallucinating or something, and I was like, this is nuts. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I really couldn't. And I was like, wow, I've got to get my paints. I've got to get painting. Like, I don't know what this is, but I've got to get, I need to be there. But of course, there's loads of cars. So I remember, putting my car at the side of the road, grab my stuff, run over. And then that was when I met you, Tucker. And there was just all these special things that happened while I was there. And I really didn't expect, I thought it might be a place I'd pull over, take some photos, do some painting. And I thought it was that sort of place that people would then be, off on their way. But there was the show, which was incredible, really, really good. I mean, the Ghost players are superb. And then I just hung out for a bit. And then it was just, it's just beautiful. You've got the kids playing catch, and then you've got, the dads and the mums are there playing catch with their kids, and pickup games of baseball were happening. So it was just this amazing, like, I thought I might be there for half the day or something and then be on my way up to Minneapolis. But, I was there for the whole day and then stayed there that night. And it was just so special. It was just like, and then I met Dan. This occurrence happened, this kind of coincidence happened, which I was like, wow, this is incredible. And it was just almost meant to be. It was just had this magic moment. And then I I went up to Minneapolis the next day. I think I was there for a couple nights, and then I thought, right, I've got to go back to the Field of Dreams on the way, because I was on the way to Chicago. So again, on the way back down, I stopped off and I was painting there. On both occasions, I got involved in a bit of a pickup game, because I thought, I've never really played baseball. Like in Korea, you can play screen baseball with like a video screen and all this. So I played that before in the batting cages. But anyway, so I got to, I got a hit. I didn't actually get a hit. You know what? I hit it, and it was a really good hit. And I didn't realize how serious everyone was taking it. I thought I could jog along to first, and it would be, I'd get my first hit on the Field of Dreams. But I was out. I was out at first. So I'm still not.
So
I'm still my average is pretty
living out your dream.
Yeah, but so next time I'm coming back and I'm getting a hit. I need to get my hit. I need to get my average up. But I mean, yourself from the sunsets, the landscape, the piece that is that piece of land, and just Iowa in itself, like, it's just beautiful. And as a painter, as an artist, to try and capture those colors and try and capture that atmosphere, it's like nothing else. And I remember when I ended up at Dan's house, a week after, and I laid out all the paintings that I'd done up to that stage. So I'd done maybe 15 ballparks. So I had all the paintings, and I had the ones from the Field of Dreams. And sure enough, the ones from the Field of Dreams, the atmosphere of those paintings, the colors, and just the feeling of them when you looked at them were completely different to the ballparks. And it really is special. I mean, since when I left, I bought one of your pin badges from the shop. I've just found it recently up in my bedroom. And basically, for every time, I wore it almost every day since I was at your place. I wore it all around Mexico, all around Cuba. But I made sure every time I painted, I put it on. So I think if you go online, you see a selfie of me, or I know there's some in Guadalajara where I was painting, and I'm pretty sure if you look, I've got my apron and all that, but on my chest I have the Field of Dreams, the metallic badge you have, because it was such a special. Being there was such a special experience, because it really was the halfway point just about, and it kind of really gave me the belief to keep going, which was not always easy and not always the case. So it was really something quite profound being there.
That's what we like to hear. That's it right there. Got two questions over here, Roman, then I'll give it off to you to finish up the questions. But we got two coming from Mike Bearden, and we got one from Mike Bearden, one from Bob Pritchett. And we're going to go ahead and start out with Mike Bearden's got a great question here. He says, do you take pictures near the beginning of the game in case it gets rained out and you have to finish another time?
It's a good question.
It's a good idea, actually. I should have done that. No, it's the answer. No. No, I haven't. That's a really good idea. I should do that. No, I guess I've been pretty lucky like that. There was. I know in Cuba there was a time when it was really flooded, and I knew I couldn't carry on painting. But on the whole, I'm trying to think of a time where rain has actually stopped me painting. I can't think there was ever a time. But for next time, I'm going to make a note of that. That's a great idea.
There you go. All right. Next one coming from Bob Pritchett. He says, my daughter Ashley is a freshman artist at Moore College of Art and Design in Philadelphia. What advice would you give a young art student going forward in their career?
You've got to paint a lot. You've got to mean it a lot. You've got to want to do it a lot. And you've got to look a lot. For me, I'm gonna give a shout out to this book. I don't know if you've got to look at artists a lot. This is one of the best books you could ever get. I always used to tell my students when I was teaching to buy this book. It's the art book. It's got a little bit on every art, or many artists, famous artists. And if you want to be a good artist or a good painter, you've got to look at art. So you need to get yourself a good art book, and you've got to learn about the history of art, and you've kind of also got to decide how you want to interpret art, because you can do it in so many different ways. It's a very personal thing. So you've got to understand, right, what am I trying to achieve, and how do I want to use my color, and how do I want to do this? So my advice is just to keep doing it and enjoy it is number one. Like, you've just got to do it with passion and do it. Just enjoy it. Like, just don't think too much about it always. Just give it your all, and I find it so rewarding. At times it's very, very difficult. It can be tough. It's at times it's not so easy, but also it's there's a magic in it which I don't think many other things in life have.
Absolutely. Roman, take it away.
Well, this is an easy one, or maybe not, depending on your answer. What are your plans in 2021?
Yeah, I have a few. I mean, hopefully, of course, hopefully things are opening up a little bit more in the world now. It'll be safer to travel again. So I want to get back on the road. I want to get back to Mexico, back to the States, back wherever really, and be painting baseball again. I really want, like we kind of talked about a bit earlier, I'd like to work with a team. I'd like to work with a team or with a league and actually follow a team around for a season, for a month, any level of team, an independent ball team, a major league ball team, minor leagues, whatever, and document, everything to do with the team, the travel, the hotels, the games themselves. That's what I really want to do. So I'd like to do that. Some of the work that I've been doing recently, there's a chance some of that might be going to the States and being exhibited. I'd still like to put on an exhibition of my ballparks that I've done all around the world and baseball culture. I feel like there's a great exhibition that I've got all here. I just need some walls to put it on. So I'd like that to happen. I've got a clothing company who I might be doing some work with that got in touch a couple of months ago. So I'm doing some designs and doing some work with them. So hopefully that'll be coming out in the new year. So there's a few really cool, really interesting things coming up, which I'm excited about. But my plan is really just to keep adding and keep developing what I'm doing. I want to keep going to different parts of the world and seeing how they do baseball, really.
You say art show and you need space. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, how cool would it be to have an art show in the Field of Dreams renovated barn? In the barn, because we just redid the whole barn since the last time you were there. And so it's a gorgeous old barn now that's been renovated. And so the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how cool would that be?
We'll make that happen.
Right. That's pretty good.
We need to do it. We've done it in the past.
Yeah.
We had a paint out night at the field last year. We had over 40 painters from 13 different states out there, and we actually bought one. So you know what, Andy? I need to get yours out there for us to display at our office.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we definitely need to do it because I love that.
You guys are going to have the MLB game, I guess, next year as well.
That's right. Hey, you might be out there for that.
How in the world did you hear about it?
That's it. But yeah, I mean, I'm of course, it's the unknown. It's a little unknown, at the moment, life. But I feel like for me, it's just keep doing what we do and see where we end up.
That's it. Well, we need to get you back out here next year.
Amen.
At some point.
Love to be there.
So where can our fans, where can dreamers find you on social media?
They can find me on Instagram at Andy Brown is an artist. They can find me on Twitter at Andy B is an artist. And they can see my website, which is andybrownstadiums.com. Great.
Definitely, guys, take a look at that. Some of his work is displayed behind him, but as you can see, it's gorgeous. Outstanding work. Andy, you do great things for not only the nature of the game, but art itself. So thank you for everything you do. You put a smile on my face every time I see posts on your page. So
thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey, not a problem. We'll end the interview, Andy, with one question that we like to ask all of our special guests, and that is, if there's one lesson to take away from the movie Field of Dreams, what is that in your opinion?
I'm going to say it's kind of cheesy, but it's so true. Like if you build it, they'll come. Like it really, like that. The Field of Dreams as a film, as my opinion on that film has changed a lot in the last little while, and my understanding of it. And part of that is just the it's like a folk tale, it's like a myth where you've got this incredible journey, which is very fantastical in many ways. But I really do believe that thing that if you build it, if you really talking about the guy's daughter and if you want to be a painter, then you've got to paint. If you want to be a musician, you've got to paint, or you've got to play music. You've got to, whatever you want to do in life, if you just do it and you do it with belief, then I do believe that great things will happen. And on my trip in 2019, great things happened, and it was so special that would be the thing that I think that's that one line and that whole thing that goes through the film is so true. And I think we often ignore that in life, and I feel like it's really important.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So true.
That does it right there, folks. Dreamers, thank you for joining in. Thank you for the commentary throughout this entire thing. We love to see all of you guys talking in here. And again, it's our opportunity in the week to connect with all and to connect with Andy for this week. So guys, stay healthy, stay safe. We're going to get through this whole thing as a group and get better because of it. And we got a game to look forward to now in August. So stay up to date in all the latest news there, guys. And keep your eyes on our pages and Andy's pages. And we'll see you guys soon.